Let's bring in Craig Button today. Once again, if you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. All right, Craig, I don't even know where to start, so I'm going to apologize for the generic question, but what's your big takeaway from Game 1 between the Oilers and Kings?
McDavid is unstoppable. You know, like he comes out wearing number 97 every single time he jumps on the ice. He has McDavid right on the back of his jersey. And everybody in the building and everybody on the LA Kings knows it, and they can't do anything about it. Like, you've heard me say this, like, and it sounds, I guess, funny, but like, people ask me, why would you bet against McDavid and Draisaitl? So I'm not betting against McDavid and Draisaitl, but I'm betting against the Oilers. But last night is a perfect example of why you don't bet against McDavid and Draisaitl, and by extension, you know, why the Oilers benefit from those two guys. I mean, what did they have? Well, they had 8 shots through what, 39 and a half minutes in the game?
Yeah. They had 2 shots for the majority of the second
period. And then they go, and then McDavid takes it to a whole other level. McDavid takes it to a level that makes him unstoppable. Like those 2 plays that he made in the third period, the first play to Perry, the other play to Zach Hyman, like, I don't know how many players could make. Well, I do know how many players. Very few could make that play with nobody out on the ice. He's doing it while everybody's diving and sliding and trying to stop him. It's just it's unbelievable to watch what he's capable of doing, and that's coming off of 42 points last year's playoffs, and this is how he starts.
So how does that third period, like the first 39 minutes? The Oilers looked like a team that hadn't played together in a month, which is kind of what they were. And then McDavid just takes over the game. They end up scoring 5 on Kemper. We know the way it ended. But how much does that third period help the Oilers moving forward in this series, do you think?
I think there's 2 parts to that, Dustin. The first part is what you talked about playing together, having not played together for a long period of time. So they got the rust off in the first 2 periods and then got moving. I thought Chris Knoblock made a really good point in the post-game press conference. He said, yeah, we didn't have shots. We didn't have quality, dangerous shots in the first 2 periods. He said, but we had a lot of puck possession in the offensive zone. And he said, but we weren't shooting the puck and we weren't making plays to get ourselves in position to shoot the puck. That changed in the third period. So I guess that's the first thing I would say. The second thing I would say is the Oilers are dangerous. I felt at the outset of this series that as good as LA was defensively, they were going to have to find a way to extend their leads if they got leads. Because if the game's close, it swings in Edmonton's favor because McDavid and Draisaitl, in the snap of a finger, can put it in their favor. If the Kings don't get 4-0 lead, they lose that game. So now, how do the Kings adjust for that? I mean, there was only one focus for Jim Hiller today and the LA Kings and tomorrow. How do we stop McDavid? What can we do against McDavid? And he's one in a long line of coaches that work really hard at that, and there's no template because Connor McDavid doesn't give you a template. That's what's frightening for the LA Kings, that they can play such a good game for 2 periods, find a way to win the game, and come out of it not feeling very good. Because there's no way they're feeling very good after watching that play by Connor McDavid. And Draisaitl kind of, gets lost, but he was brilliant too.
Yeah, in a collection of guys, him, Hyman, not playing in some time, so it's going to take a while. I wanted your thoughts, Craig. A classic Jekyll and Hyde performance from one Evan Bouchard last night. 3 secondary assists on Oilers goals, but 2 bad turnovers, which again, in a tight 1-goal game like this, is ultimately a difference. Chris Knoblock kind of avoided a question posed to him on the podium as to where he thought his defensive responsibilities should be. What did you make of his game overall? The good, the bad, and the ugly?
Can I correct your headline? 3 secondary assists for the Oilers, 2 primary assists for the Kings.
Yes, that's exactly what I said 10 minutes ago.
Did you say that?
Yeah.
I should have tuned in. Sorry.
No, that's exact. But hey, great minds, Craig. Great minds.
Yeah, well, there's no question, and also the looks that go with it too. So it's there's a lot of people that are jealous out there, Dustin. Let's not brag. Like Evan Bouchard, here's what I'm going to say. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. Don't get your team in the hole and then go, oh yeah, well I was really good. I got us out of the hole. That's not playoff hockey. And Evan Bouchard's better than that. Let me be very clear on that. He's better than that. So we saw what he did last year in the playoffs. We know what he is when he's at his best. When he wants to be laissez-faire, like he was on not just those turnovers that led to goals, but on some other plays in the game, not good enough. I'm Chris Knoblock, Paul Coffey. Evan, you're better than that. It's not good enough. Be better. That's my message to Evan Bouchard. Because I don't care if he had 3 assists after the... Don't get us in the hole.
Craig Button with us on the show this morning. Last night on the post-game show, there was a poll of who fans wanted to start in Game 2, and it essentially was a 50-50 split last time I saw it, which was like around 12-15 last night. I don't think Knoblock will go away from Skinner for Game 2. But your thoughts on Skinner's game last night, and is there a chance that they might go to Pickard?
I don't know if they'll go to Pickard. Listen, I'm no goalie hugger, okay? And I'll sit down, and I'm not going to make excuses for goaltending, but I didn't think Stuart Skinner was a problem last night for the Edmonton Oilers. I don't think that you can look at his game. Yeah, you look at the 6 up on the board and you go, oh my God. But when you go back and look at the goals, I mean, I think it's really hard to sit down and say Stuart Skinner was our pitfall. But that being said, sometimes to try to get the attention of your team and try to get them to tighten up defensively and not be loose might be rationale for putting Pickard in there. That just gets everybody to say, hey, you know what? He's going to be the guy. Let's protect him. We saw that last year when he went in versus Vancouver. And maybe that's what they need in a Game 2, is just a little bit more focus and attention to playing defense. And sometimes that's why you put in your secondary goaltender. And make no mistake about it, from my position, I think Pickard is the number 2 goalie, clear cut. I think he is the secondary goal. That doesn't mean you can't use him, and that's my rationale for potentially using him in a Game 2. But I don't think Skinner was the downfall of the Edmonton Oilers last night.
Craig, we talked about McDavid and Draisaitl in the third and what they were able to do. If you're Knoblock, do you just go with those guys to start Game 2, considering how important it is, and if you have to run them heavy, you run them heavy?
Well, what I would say, Dustin, is one thing that Chris knows, and I think we all know. We asked the question, should they run them heavy? Those guys can run heavy. Everybody knows they can run heavy, right? You got a day off today. You play tomorrow. You got another day off. Yeah, the playoffs are hard, but these guys are unbelievable. What I would call, have the unbelievable ability to carry a heavy workload, and they show it time and time again. I think that Chris Knoblock knows, as do the LA Kings, that when they're out there together, that they disrupt everything. They take the best defensive plans and they shred them. Like any shredding company would be proud of the way McDavid and Draisaitl shred defenses. And so, I'm not hesitant to, because they're not guys that are looking to not play. They want more. They want more. They are the definition of thoroughbreds. They want to run. So I'm running with them. What I'd be trying to do if I was Chris Knoblock is trying to figure out a way to, is there a way for me to get them oxygen packs in their uniform that just allows me to play them 45 minutes a game?
You know what? With technology nowadays, we can't be far from that if it would be allowed. Sports in the National Hockey League.
Would that be cheating? Yeah. Would that be cheating? Is that a banned substance? Oxygen?
Oxygen, just more oxygen. Craig Button with us. Craig, we got to take a quick look around the rest of the league. The Montreal Canadiens down 2-0, force overtime, and then Ovi with the dagger, his second of the night. I mean, if you're the Habs, where are you at coming out of that one? Like, you managed to go back, you forced overtime, but in the end, heartbreak at the hands of the GOAT.
Well, and it was heartbreak. So I think there's some similarities between Montreal and Edmonton with respect to the first two periods were not kind to those two teams. But the third period, so if you're Chris Knoblock and you're Marty St. Louis, hey, let's do more of what we did in the third period. Let's make sure we start the game like that. The Winnipeg Jets in game one didn't have a great first two periods. Their third period was outstanding, as it was in game two versus St. Louis. And their whole game was outstanding in game two versus St. Louis. That's the Jets. So Marty St. Louis, Chris Knoblock, they have to like what happened in the third period. And I can understand what you talked about Edmonton. Haven't played together essentially for a month, that group. The Montreal Canadiens young group playing in the playoffs for the first time. So, you got a little bit of trying to figure it out, try to get settled in. Both teams did that, but play like you did in the third period. And Montreal had Washington uncomfortable in the third period. The other thing I'll say about the third period too, Logan Thompson looked like he was like all kinds of trouble. Like he was wandering and off his feet and like flailing at pucks. I mean, that Nick Suzuki goal, I just like it was like they were playing without a goalie watching it.
Yeah, and he's just coming back off an injury too, right?
Yeah.
Logan Thompson. Yeah. So we'll see what happens on that one. And then Winnipeg, just quickly on the Jets. It was so funny watching game one, and you mentioned the first two periods weren't good, and game one, they're like, oh, classic Hellebuck, playoff Hellebuck's back. And then they took over in the third period, played extremely well, got the win. Now they're up 2-0. I mean, this does feel a little bit different for the Winnipeg Jets, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it needed to feel different for the Winnipeg Jets, Dustin, because, they're haunted by last year. There's no way you can't be haunted by last year. And I think, too, that they're proving to themselves that there is a successful way to play. And even when they were down against St. Louis in game one, they stuck with it. They weren't chasing it. I thought last year versus Colorado, the game ended up getting wrested away from the Winnipeg Jets, and they were trying to chase and play a game that wasn't to their strengths, and they got burned bad. And those are, we use the term scar tissue from playoff failures. And now you got to take that scar tissue and show that it's not going to break open again. I think the Jets have done that. I think they've proven to themselves, importantly proven to themselves, that they can play a playoff style game that will give them success. You don't end up having the record they did for the past 2 years in the regular season by accident. But now they look like they're taking what matters into their own hands come playoff time.
As always, Craig, we appreciate it, man, and looking forward to the chat next Tuesday.
I'm looking forward to it, too, and, maybe you can get one of your sponsors to make posters. We can plaster ourselves all over there, and, we can have people vote. What do you like most about Dustin and Craig, the brains or the looks?
There you go. That's Craig Button. See you later, Craig. Brought to you by Pro Am Sports.